Hello everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic back once again, and it's time to talk about everything that happened at AEW Full Gear 2024. Let's go. Straight into the first match on the pre-show, which is Anna Jay versus Deonna Purrazzo, accompanied by Taya Valkyrie, who she's now aligned with. Taya distracts Anna on the apron immediately from the bell, but Anna is still able to get the better of the opening exchanges, at least until Taya grabs her from the outside, and this allows Purrazzo to take control. How did the ref not see that, incidentally? Come on, ref, sharpen up, it's the first match of the show. Deonna takes Anna down into a submission, but she gets out of it and kicks Deonna in the head, and both women are down. When they return to their feet, Anna builds up a head of steam and drags Purrazzo off the middle rope for a near fall. Anna locks in the Queen Slayer, but she doesn't have all of it, and Deonna slips out before hitting a Russian leg sweep and looking for her submission finisher, the Venus de Milo, but Anna is able to make the ropes before it can be locked in. Purrazzo calls for the end, but Anna makes her comeback and hits a neckbreaker in the ropes. Unfortunately, this positions her quite nicely for Taya to drag her to the outside and nail a spear. The ref apparently doesn't see this either, but suspects something and ejects Taya from the match. Back in the ring, Deonna gets a Fujiwara armbar, but Anna counters it nicely, rolling her up 1, 2, 3. Well, hey! Big babyface win to open the show, and Deonna throws a tantrum in the ring. The second match on the pre-show is a four-way match between Dante Martin, Komander, the Beast Mortos, and Buddy Matthews. The opening stages of this match see Buddy and Mortos continually throw the two smaller guys out of the ring so they can square off, but the two smaller guys aren't standing for that. No. Dante and Komander start working together on a springboard lionsault and a springboard crossbody to take down Buddy and Mortos, but slowly the bigger guys get back into the match and Mortos hits his always impressive twisting dive to the outside. Matthews follows up with a dive of his own, but he takes too long bragging to the crowd near the ramp, allowing Komander to do one of his insane running tightrope high spots, springing high into the air and onto all three opponents below. However, back in the ring, he does miss a casual tightrope shooting star press, just, we can all do them, allowing Mortos to take control and hit a big lung blower, followed by a huge release Samoan drop on a charging Dante Martin. Matthews stops his momentum though with a DDT in the ropes and starts dishing out big moves of his own, including a jackhammer, but it only gets 2. Komander avoids a Meteora, allowing one of his opponents to take the blow, but then the luchador gets destroyed by a running crucifix bomb from Mortos, which is very nice. All four men are down for a while and Mortos takes control when the action resumes, but Komander hits a 619 to his leggies, followed by a leaping Poison Rana. But I hope his legs are okay from that nasty 619, never mind the Poison Rana. Dante hits a huge frog splash on Mortos, 1-2, but Buddy stomps Dante's head to break up the pinfall attempt and pin Martin himself to scoop the victory. Next up, it's the match we've all been waiting for. First out is special guest commentator Paul White and special guest timekeeper, the Rizzler, who walk down the ramp hand in hand, and honestly, it's quite sweet. QT Marshall is accompanied by a mean team of security cronies. He's also got new theme music, he's got new ring attire, and he brings the doom. Big Boom AJ and Big Justice are out last, and their entrance goes on for a while. Multiple laps of the ring, high-fiving everyone. Yes, we cut to the Rizzler several times, and he's doing the Riz face every single time, and that's a theme that will continue throughout the match. Big lockup to start and an arm drag from QT, who mocks that dance that the babyfaces do. But AJ gets a takedown now and does the dance himself, and the crowd chant, "You still got it." And I imagine this does genuinely mean quite a lot to him, because if you didn't know, he was a wrestler several decades ago, maybe like a decade and a half ago, and he must have missed it. AJ gets a huge power slam and a near fall, and the crowd are genuinely hot for him, so fair play, I guess. You might be asking, what's the Rizzler up to at this point? He's still doing the Riz face. QT gets thrown to the outside and does a Shawn Michaels comedy oversell bump. His cronies help him back into the ring, and AJ argues with them on the outside, so QT goes for a sneak attack dive, but AJ moves and QT wipes out his henchman. QT now utilizes a few cheap heel tactics to take control of the match once again, kicking the ropes into AJ's midsection and beating him down. But AJ fires up and makes his comeback, the Rizzler's doing the Riz face, and the babyface hits a nice big belly to belly slam. AJ also gets a big spine buster and an axe handle from the top, Riz face still going on, and a running power slam, which only gets 2. QT fights back with a nice handspring head kick and the diamond cutter, but we get an actually very nicely timed late kick out from Big Boom AJ. QT goes over to the Timekeeper's area, possibly to intimidate the Rizzler, but Paul White steps in the way. Nobody harms the Rizzler on his watch. Back inside, they head up top and AJ nails a massive superplex. He calls for the power boom, his finisher, but Aaron Solo runs out for the distraction and QT retakes control. That is until, with the referee still distracted by Aaron Solo by the way, Big Justice gets in the ring, saving his dad by nailing QT with a running spear. Nice bump from QT on that. Big Justice gets out of there, the ref turns round, AJ hits the power boom and picks up the big win. We get a big babyface celebration. I'm sorry, I can't get my words out, I'm too emotional. AJ and Big Justice get on the turnbuckles, the Rizzler gets up on the turnbuckles and he hits, you'll never guess, the Riz face. This was honestly, I might sound a bit mad saying this, quite refreshing, because AEW pay-per-views, you know you're going to get 1,000,001 moves. All the matches are going to have lots of stuff. This was pure back to basics, babyface versus heel. You know what? It wasn't awful, man. Like I say, it was a pleasant change of pace from the usual AEW pay-per-view fare. Well done, everyone. On to the main portion of the show, and the opening match is the 4-way tag team title match. Private Party defending against the House of Black, the Outrunners, and the Acclaimed. Interesting developments in Max Caster's entrance rap, as instead of saying everybody loves the Acclaimed, he says everyone loves the best wrestler alive, i.e. his own nickname for himself. He then throws the mic at a disgruntled Anthony Bowens as well. Uh-oh. Quen and Malachi start things off and they're evenly matched, so Malachi does his cross-legged pose, which means I see your game. I think that's what it means. Bowens and Zay tag in and Bowens takes control, but when he looks for the tag to Max, his partner is too busy playing to the crowd. Oh no. The Outrunners take control now with some double team offense and some double posing. Brody King isn't impressed though and lays in several big right hands to Turbo Floyd, but Floyd fires up like a good 1980s babyface. He hits the ropes, charges, and gets destroyed with a lariat. The House of Black take control and Malachi hits his moonsault to the outside onto everyone. Back inside, they also stay in control, so the other teams all have to join forces to beat them down. They drag Brody to a corner and Bowens hits Scissor Me Timbers. Turbo and Bowens look to scissor taunt together, but Caster uses this opportunity to blindside Turbo instead, and Bowens looks momentarily annoyed. Private Party take control now and hit Stereo 450s for 2. The Outrunners come back in and hit their big double elbow drop. They go for their finisher, but Zay slips out and they hit each other instead. Brody King builds up a head of steam now, but the Outrunners do hit their finisher this time on Big Brody, but sadly, Caster is there to break up the fall, and the crowd do not like him for this. The Acclaimed now both become legal men at the same time, which makes little sense, but the crowd chant for Bowens to attack his partner. Instead, Max drops down and tells Bowens to pin him, so they can just win the titles that way. I don't know if that actually works, but the ref goes to count it, and Mark Quen has to break things up with a big swanton from the top. Zay tags in and exchanges roll-ups with Bowens, who drops him with a wicked elbow strike, but Caster blind tags in when Bowens goes for a pinfall attempt, so the referee can't count, and again Bowens is frustrated with his partner. Caster gets up top and goes for the mic drop, but instead falls victim to gin and juice, and the champions are able to retain. The next match is MJF versus Roderick Strong. The bell rings and MJF immediately rolls out of the ring and gets on the mic. He cuts a promo saying both his opponent and this New Jersey crowd are trash. MJF says when he isn't in AEW, he's out there making millions shooting movies, while meanwhile Roddy's mother is busy shooting his dad, like with a gun, you know? Strong gets out of the ring and immediately attacks MJF for this insult, beating him up and down the ramp. He ducks a chop though, does MJF, and Roddy inadvertently chops the ring post. Ouch. MJF presses the advantage, working the left hand of Roddy before powerbombing him onto the apron. Back inside, Roddy chops with the right hand, MJF ducks one, so he chops with the left and then has to sell it, and MJF again takes control, a recurring theme in this match. Roddy does manage to fight back though and gets a near fall after a knee to the face and an angle slam looking back suplex. Very nice. Roddy avoids the heat seeker and whips MJF around on the outside, suplexing him back first onto the crowd barricade. Back in the ring, MJF counters a charge in the corner corner with a very inventive, kind of like a backdrop into a back super kick kind of thing. Maybe like a reverse cheeky Nando's kick without the head trap element, I guess. He also gets a near fall off a nasty suspended hammerlock DDT. Then MJF spits at Roddy and trash talks him, but Strong fires back with strikes, only for MJF to land a thumb to the eye. Roddy regains control and grabs a Texas cloverleaf, but he can't hold on to the submission hold due to his weakened hand. MJF now goes for the brainbuster, but his back hurts too much and he has to put Roddy down, and Roddy nails the end of Heartache, his finisher, 1-2, but MJF gets a foot on the ropes. Roddy chains together several moves and goes for End of Heartache again, but MJF counters with a brainbuster, but he's too weak to make the cover. Both men are down, and in fact it's Roddy who rolls across and makes the pinfall attempt first, but Max instantly reverses it into the Salt of the Earth armbar, playing possum perhaps, maybe, and Roddy instantly taps due to the hand damage throughout the match. MJF isn't done though with the final bell, and he grabs a chair, wrapping it around Roddy's arm and stomping on it. But here comes Adam Cole and the Undisputed Kingdom. Bit late there, Adam, mate. Cole hits the ring and MJF runs away through the crowd. The UK check on Strong, but Cole is more interested in standing in the corner and threatening MJF in the crowd. Kyle O'Reilly gets in the ring and shoves Cole down, saying, "Hey, your friend's hurt, and what, you want to go after MJF? Fine, do it." Clearly, Kyle does not agree with Adam Cole's priorities, and he helps Roddy Strong to the back, while Cole looks confused and a bit upset. The next match is the only women's match on the main portion of the show, but they made the most of it has to be said. Mercedes Moné defending the TBS title against Kris Statlander. Earlier on the pre-show, we saw Moné tell Camille to wait in the back for this match because they have not been getting along recently. The story of the opening stages is power versus evasiveness, and the challenger demonstrates that power, hitting Moné with a military press slam. They battle on the apron and Mercedes hits a head scissors down to the outside, following up with a Meteora off the apron and the running knees into the ring steps. Back in the ring, Mercedes presses the advantage and gets another Meteora, but tries to assist her own pinfall attempt by grabbing the bottom rope, and the referee spots it in time. Moné counters a powerbomb attempt with a nice falling neckbreaker across the knee and then sunset bombs Statlander into the corner, followed by another set of running knees. Very dominant from the champion so far, but she's visibly frustrated at being unable to put Statlander away. Finally, Kris swings the momentum, catching Moné in midair and slamming her into the corner. She then hits a power slam and a chaos theory, but Moné gets a boot on the ropes. The champion hits a crucifix bomb and locks in the statement maker, but Statlander powers out, only for Mercedes to backflip out of a back suplex attempt and hit the backstabber, but it only gets 2. Lots of backs there. Mercedes heads up top, Statlander kips up to her feet, but Moné hits yet another Meteora, but again Statlander kicks out, and then gets a near fall of her own shortly after with a big discus lariat. Another roll-up attempt is powered out of, and Statlander hits her spinning Michinoku driver for 2, but then Moné gets a tornado DDT for 2 as well, and again she freaks out at being unable to get the win. Moné hits the 3 amigos and goes up for the frog splash, but Statlander catches her in midair and hits an F5 of all things, and Mercedes kicks out just in time. The challenger goes for her 450 splash, but crashes and burns as the champion rolls out of the way and then viciously works the injured knee of Statlander and hits a frog splash to that knee, but again Kris kicks out. Moné's had enough now and hits 2 consecutive backstabbers, followed by the Moné maker for 3. Just kidding, Statlander kicks out yet again, and the crowd are delighted. Moné grabs Statlander's head and slaps her viciously, but then Kris gets a backslide for 2. Moné reverses with a magistral cradle attempt, but Statlander stands up in the electric chair position and just slings Mercedes face first into the canvas. She hooks the champion up for her finisher, but Moné attacks the injured knee to get out of it. Statlander collapses face first into the ropes, and then Moné rolls her up on the rebound to finally get the pinfall and retain the title. But she had to really dig deep in order to do so. On commentary, they're even saying like, oh, this was her toughest title defense yet. Next up, the rematch between Hangman Adam Page and Jay White. Jay won the last one. Can he make it another victory? We'll see. Jay lays in some hard chops to start, but Hangman throws him to the outside, and Jay immediately grabs his ankle, so Hangman sees this and targets that ankle mercilessly. He slams it into the ring post and then just punches away at it in the middle of the ring, and stays in control of the match for a while, but Jay fights back, targeting the leg of Hangman like last time and getting a near fall off a DDT. Page hits his fallaway slam into the corner, then they head up top, and Hangman flips off the crowd and bites Jay's forehead. He's a bad guy, didn't you know? The top rope fall-away slam connects very impressively, but Jay kicks out just in time. Now, the New Zealander slams Hangman's leg into the ring post, and they head back up top where Jay hits a superplex, but it only gets 2. Hangman chop blocks the leg of Jay, so Jay chop blocks the leg of Hangman. They both exchange near falls and then battle to the apron, where White hits a very nasty half-and-half suplex on the apron, followed by another one on the outside of the ring. Hangman goes the less technical path, it has to be said, hurling Jay off the side of the ramp into the crowd barricade, then trapping his ankle in the crowd barricade and booting it to cause severe pain. Hangman locks in an ankle lock on the ramp and holds it as the ref counts to 10. Jay crawls towards the ring slowly. The ref gets close to the count of 10. Hangman throws White down, slides into the ring, but Jay quickly gets in as well, just beating the count. Page goes for the buckshot lariat, but White catches him, but Hangman counters into an ankle lock again. Jay struggles and makes the ropes. Hangman drags him away though, and Jay has to roll free. Now remember that sequence because they revisit it at the end of the match. Page heads back to the apron, but White gets the dragon screw leg whip that he used so effectively in their previous match. Jay hits the big Uranagi, but Hangman avoids the Blade Runner attempt and goes back to the ankle lock. Jay rolls out and reverses into a leg lock of his own, but this time Page makes the ropes. They fight into the corner and White hits another dragon screw leg whip, but then Hangman nails Deadeye shortly afterwards and a second in a row, but Jay kicks out just in time. Hangman again goes for the buckshot lariat, but White reverses into a Blade Runner attempt, but Hangman counters that into another ankle lock. Jay makes the ropes, Hangman drags him back into the center of the ring, but momentarily releases the hold to do so, and Jay is able to counter into the Blade Runner. 1, 2, 3, and he has beaten a disbelieving Hangman Adam Page once again. Jay gloats on the ramp, Hangman is furious and follows him up onto the stage and clobbers him from behind. Officials run out to stop the brawl, Daniels gets in the way and tries to calm Hangman down, so Page just decks the acting EVP with a big right hand and storms to the back. Next up, we have Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher, a big old grudge match between two former friends. They charge at each other at the bell, and Fletcher gets the better of the opening exchange, but Ospreay hits a very gravity-defying running head scissors to start things off. They fight to the outside where Fletcher gets the ring steps involved. He tries to whip Ospreay into them, but Ospreay vaults over the top and flies back with another head scissors to take control. Back in the ring, Fletcher whips Ospreay hard into the corner and gets a big DDT, but doesn't go for the pinfall, instead just raining down angry right hands. They battle to the apron where Fletcher gets out of a Stormbreaker attempt and hits a nasty brainbuster down on the outside, with Ospreay immediately favoring the shoulder upon landing. Kyle presses the advantage back in the ring, but Ospreay fights back and goes for a handspring, only to crumple to the mat due to his weakened shoulder. Fletcher follows up with a DDT for a near fall and clamps on a Dragon Sleeper, which Ospreay knees his way out of, but Fletcher blocks a Tornado DDT and hits the Michinoku driver, but it only gets 2. Kyle misses a charge and spills to the apron where Ospreay boots him to the outside and hits his big corkscrew dive all the way to the floor. Back inside, they have a strike exchange until Fletcher fakes a strike and hits a cheap superkick to the face instead, which Ospreay deserves, to be fair. Kyle falls victim to the cheeky Nando's kick, but is able to counter the hidden blade, so Ospreay goes for the Os Cutter instead, but Fletcher counters it with a nice mid-air neck breaker, followed by a huge last ride style powerbomb, but again it's only a near fall. Ospreay hits Stundog Millionaire and goes for another Os Cutter, but Fletcher shoves him down, only for Ospreay to skin the cat, and then they kind of spill awkwardly to the floor, with Ospreay holding Kyle upside down in a tombstone position. He follows this up with a tombstone on the floor, and I assume that is what they were initially going for. Fletcher just beats the count back inside, but Ospreay immediately capitalizes with a springboard dropkick and a corkscrew off the top rope, but it only gets 2. Fletcher avoids another hidden blade, but Ospreay gets out of another powerbomb attempt and hits the Spanish Fly, but another hidden blade attempt is countered with a big lariat from Fletcher. He now advances on Ospreay, who now springs to life and hits the hidden blade, and now both men are down. Once they've recovered, they head up top where Kyle looks for the Avalanche Brainbuster, but Ospreay front flips down to the mat and maneuvers Kyle into a big Styles Clash. The hidden blade connects a second time, but again Kyle kicks out. Ospreay gets frustrated and lays in some closed fist punches to the downed Fletcher before setting up for a Stormbreaker from the apron to the ring steps below, but Fletcher counters into a jumping tombstone from the apron to those ring steps. Ospreay is in trouble now, and Kyle talks mad trash and rolls him back in the ring to finish him off and hits his head drop finisher, the Grimstone, but Will kicks out. Fletcher looks for the Tiger Driver instead, but Ospreay rolls him up for 2. He then hits a desperation elbow with his left weakened arm, and it's too weak in fact to affect Kyle, who brushes it off and drops Will with a merciless lariat. Several big kicks in the corner connect for Fletcher, and he goes up for the brainbuster, dropping Ospreay headfirst on the top turnbuckle Sami Zayn style. 1, 2, 3, and that is it. Kyle Fletcher wins clean. Don Callis, although on commentary for this match, did not get involved at all. Mark Davis comes out to check on the fallen Ospreay, and Fletcher departs all victorious, telling the two guys in the ring that they deserve each other. Now it's time for the AEW Women's Champion Mariah May and her champagne celebration with Mina Shirakawa. They drink some lovely champagne and dance, but then Mariah slips behind Mina and grabs a champagne bottle. She's going to betray her, just like she did to Toni Storm. Mariah swings, but Mina turns and sees it just in time, ducking the blow and kicking the champagne glass out of Mariah's hand. Mariah spits at Mina, who spears her off the side of the ramp through a table below. Both women are down, but Mina gets up bleeding from the mouth and smears it on an unconscious Mariah's head before walking off, shrieking with fury, I suppose. Nice segment, and I assume they'll have a nice title match as well. Next up is the TNT title match between Daniel Garcia and the champion, Jack Perry. We get a big Garcia video package beforehand, hyping up his chances of finally winning the belt. Will he get it done? Let's find out. Lots of stalling from Perry early on, who keeps running away from a frustrated Garcia, but the challenger finally catches the champion and throws him into the crowd barricade before booting him into the front row. They battle back at ringside, where Perry hits a draping DDT from the apron to the floor, followed by another one from the barricade. Back in the ring, Perry gets 2 off a missile dropkick to the back of the head and presses the advantage, but Garcia lands a very nasty looking Saito suplex. Perry locks in an STF, but Garcia makes the ropes. Perry is able to keep control of the match with a back suplex on the apron before shoving Matt Menard on commentary, trying to bait the DQ, but Menard restrains himself. Perry then powerbombs Garcia through the timekeeper's table and buries him in a pile of debris and the contents of a nearby trash can. Garcia very nearly gets counted out, but beats the count just at the urging of Menard. Perry is confident still though, and gives a few little kicks to the head of Garcia, but it only fires the challenger up, and he starts to make his comeback. Garcia hits a butterfly suplex into the corner before wrapping Perry's hair around the rope and hitting a running kick to the head of the trapped champion. However, Perry fights back, lawn darting Garcia into the middle turnbuckle and heading back outside to grab the title belt. He gets in the ring and throws the belt to Garcia, inviting him to hit him with the belt and get himself DQ'd. And Danny thinks about it like an idiot, but hands it to the referee instead. However, when the ref's back is turned, Perry hits a low blow and the running knee, 1-2, but Garcia kicks out just in time. Perry goes for a second knee, but Garcia collapses to the mat, so Perry has to slowly set him up again, but this gives Danny enough time to recover, countering into a jackknife pinfall for a very near fall. Garcia traps Perry's foot and hits a modified pile driver, but the champion kicks out again. They both slowly get back to their feet and exchange big slaps and chops, with Garcia landing the most damage by far, but Perry just laughs at him and does his Raven pose. Garcia hooks him up and nails a pile driver, but he isn't done there, locking in the Dragon Tamer sharpshooter, and Perry almost makes the ropes, but Garcia pulls him back to the middle of the ring and leans way back in the hold, and Jack Perry taps, meaning that Daniel Garcia is finally the TNT champion. Garcia walks out draped in an AEW flag in case his allegiance wasn't clear, and it'll be very nice and interesting to see where his title reign goes. Well deserved by Daniel Garcia. Next up, we have the international title match, Konosuke Takeshita defending against Ricochet. It's a back and forth start with both men avoiding each other's early offense, but Ricochet finally lands a meaningful kick, only to get dragged headfirst into the turnbuckle by the champion. Takeshita blocks a 619 attempt from Ricochet, trapping him in the ropes and booting him down to the outside, where he then slams him into the timekeeper's area. Back in the ring, Takeshita presses the advantage and really starts to dominate the challenger, but Ricochet fights back and thinks about a springboard from the apron, only to stop himself due to his weakened back. Takeshita retakes control again, but Ricochet again tries to make a comeback, this time landing a springboard crossbody and a nice twisting Sasuke special to the outside. Back in the ring, he hits a springboard 450, but the champion kicks out and Don Callis heads down to ringside from the announce table. He urges Takeshita on, who reverses a handspring from Ricochet into his always impressive Blue Thunder Bomb, but it only gets 2. Ricochet, quite unwisely you might say, has a strike exchange with the heavy-hitting Takeshita. Ricochet though again comes back into the match and heads up top, but Takeshita catches him up there and hits a release German superplex. He follows it up with a huge lariat, but Ricochet is able to kick out and stay in the match again. He also kicks out of the power drive knee, and the champion is starting to look frustrated. This time, it's Ricochet's turn to catch the champion up top and nail a Hurricane Rana, followed by a Poison Rana, and then the big Shooting Star Press, but again, it's only a near fall. Ricochet tries to press this advantage, but Takeshita catches him, scoops him up, and nails his Jumping Tombstone, but again, that's only enough for 2. Takeshita pulls down the knee pad, but Ricochet avoids the blow and chains together a couple of his own big signature moves, but he's really selling the back each time he has to hoist the bigger man into the air, and therefore he's unable to really put the champion away. So he goes up top yet again, but Takeshita cuts him off yet again, and this time hits an Avalanche Falcon Arrow, and that finally gets the 3. Takeshita retains the International Championship. The penultimate match of the night is Swerve Strickland versus Bobby Lashley. Swerve tries a quick start, but Lashley immediately takes control with his power and strength, even voluntarily breaking a pinfall attempt at 2 early on. I like to think that Strickland would have kicked out anyway, but we'll never know. Lashley continues to dominate with a big delayed suplex. Swerve starts to fight back, but gets thrown into the ring post and dropped with a big power slam for 2. Finally, Swerve lands a meaningful blow, countering a charge from Lashley in the corner with a pair of boots to the face. Shelton Benjamin gets on the apron to distract Swerve, who gets knocked to the outside by Lashley, but Swerve continues to slowly fight back, with Prince Nana hyping him up. He goes for a dive to the outside, but Shelton grabs his leg as he hits the ropes, so the referee ejects Mr. Benjamin. Meanwhile, Lashley slams Swerve on the apron and throws him hard into the barricade. He then tries to get the ring steps involved, but Swerve turns the tables and rams Lashley's head repeatedly into them. They head up to the apron, where Swerve hits a very scary DDT down to the floor, with Bobby not really connecting with the apron at all and just falling straight down. Luckily, he seems to avoid landing on his head. Swerve then runs up the ring steps and leaps, hitting a huge Swerve stomp on Bobby, driving him through the announce table. Back in the ring, Swerve hits the house call and heads up for another stomp, but it only gets 2. Back on the outside, MVP gets into it with Swerve and they have a big intense stare down, which buys Bobby enough time to recover and hit an overhead belly to belly on Strickland. Lashley then charges and spears his opponent clean through the crowd barricade before dragging him back inside and hitting another spear, but he doesn't make the pinfall attempt, instead locking Strickland in the Hurt Lock. Swerve passes out, and that's it. The referee calls for the bell, and it's a pretty dominant win for Big Bobby, again over a former AEW World Champion at that. The Hurt Syndicate look to potentially beat down Swerve some more. Prince Nana tries to protect him, so he gets rendered unconscious by the Hurt Lock as well. And finally, the main event of the evening, Orange Cassidy trying to win the world title and the very soul of AEW from Jon Moxley. Cassidy lands an orange punch just before the bell, and 2 more. They head to the outside, and Moxley's rattled. Cassidy's laying in right hands on top of the announce table, not the one that Lashley and Swerve broke, the other one. Although, the broken one has been repaired very quickly. Fair play. Moxley, though, gains control of the brawl, and they fight in the crowd, then back at the ringside area, where Moxley sits the challenger in a chair and kicks him in the face. Cassidy is busted wide open, and Moxley hits the Death Rider on top of the ring steps. Marina Shafir lays in a cheap shot behind the referee's back, and then Moxley just continues to press the advantage when the action finally returns to the ring, biting away at the forehead of his opponent. A big delayed gotch-style pile driver lays Cassidy out, but he kicks out at 2, so Moxley just lays in more hard shots to the top of his head and to the forehead, all over his face and head. The vicious beatdown continues on the outside for a while, then back in the ring, where finally Cassidy starts to fire up, only to get cut off by Moxley, only to fire up again with some big forearms, only for Moxley to shrug them off and drop the challenger with an even bigger one. They head up top, where they trade maybe the most graphic back rakes I've ever seen. Cassidy then tries to jump at Moxley from the middle rope, and the champion just drops him in midair. Cassidy fights back though with a diving DDT from the corner and looks for the orange punch again, only for Moxley to counter with a cutter. The Death Rider though is countered by OC and he slaps Moxley in the face, which escalates into another strike exchange. Cassidy puts the hands in the pockets and hits his little kicks, which annoy the champion and bait him into missing a big lariat, and OC hits a pair of big orange punches. He then locks in the roll-up he used to beat Wheeler Yuta on this week's Dynamite, but Moxley is able to kick out. However, another orange punch connects, followed by beach break, and it's only a near fall. Now here come Claudio Castagnoli and Pac, who prepare to interfere, but three members of the conglomeration come out to fight them off: Kyle O'Reilly, Tomohiro Ishii, and Rocky Romero, and they even the odds. They're all brawling at the foot of the ramp, but this distracts the referee, and back in the ring, Marina Shafir prepares to use the briefcase with the belt inside it on Cassidy behind the ref's back. However, she's stopped by Willow Nightingale, who runs out and brawls with Marina to a big reaction. However, this again distracts the referee as Orange Cassidy grabs the briefcase and nails Moxley with it. 1, 2, no, Moxley just kicks out. Cassidy sets up for one final orange punch, but Moxley grabs the ref to shield himself, unsighting the official and allowing Wheeler Yuta to run in and hit the running knee on Cassidy. Wheeler gets out of there, Moxley hits a final Death Rider, 1, 2, 3, and he retains the AEW World Championship. But that's not all. After the match, Moxley and Wheeler grab a bottle of disinfectant and pour it on Cassidy's wounds. Oh, nasty. Hangman Page then comes out and takes out Wheeler with a steel chair before staring down Moxley, but it's all a distraction, allowing Christian Cage to sneak up and drop Moxley with the kill switch from behind. Hangman reluctantly leaves Christian to it. It appears they've worked out some kind of deal, and Christian Cage is about to cash in the title shot he won at Wembley, but just before he can, his rival Jay White runs in and drops him with the Blade Runner. Pac and Claudio get back in there to save their leader, beating Jay down, and the Death Riders all usher the champion out of there to the back. It seems like Jay White has been set up as the next challenger as he stares ruefully at the departing heels from the ring. Or is he the next challenger though? That's because backstage we see the heels about to leave, but their car is rammed into by another car from behind, a quite punk rock car with some spray paint on it. Who could it be? The Death Riders steal another vehicle and drive off, while Darby Allin gets out of the punk rock car and destroys the heel's windshield with his skateboard. So various people set up here who could feasibly have a shot. Jay White, Darby Allin, maybe Christian Cage as well in a heel versus heel contest. Intriguing scenes to close the show. But what did you make of them, and what did you make of Full Gear 2024 on the whole? Thank you very much for watching this video. Leave your thoughts and opinions in that comments section down below. A big thank you to Luke and Pierce on the edit for this one. I've been Jack from Cultaholic once again, and thanks again for watching. I'll see you very, very soon.